Alright, so hey, so back for the finals, and we've won our third consecutive die roll. Yeah, so my opponent messaged me to ask for a split before the game, and just wished him good luck, and he's wished me good luck as well. This hand is pretty good. I think I'm just gonna start with the Serum Visions. I'd like to try to make it so I set up a draw. I have a land to play on my third turn. I'd like to basically guarantee I hit my third land drop, and I'm planning on playing Pyromancer on turn 2. So I think I'm just gonna get a Steam Vent and Serum Visions to try to hit another land. Yeah, I just remembered that in that past game I also just that was also the game where I screwed up fetching the swamp, where I thought I saw the swamp in my deck when I really didn't. Given that my opponent played Inkmoth Nexus, I think I have to just play Pyromancer. Like, it'd be nice to mana leak a Blighted Agent, but I still have outs to draw land, and I think I really just need to get a clock going. And so I've got this Pyromancer in play. I think my opponent probably can't do anything super scary to me, given that his first turn was Inkmoth Nexus. Now he probably has to decide whether he wants to play a threat or just attack me with Nexus. Looks like he wants to play a threat. It's fine. I think I'm just going to pass the turn. I think the probability that hitting a land and playing it is nice, would be nice, but I think the probability that I want to mana leak something is high enough that I should just hold up mana, basically. I'm not willing to trade Young Pyromancer for Glistener Elf, even though Glistener Elf is obviously very valuable to him, because Glistener Elf is like a replaceable creature. Glistener Elf is way more replaceable for him than Young Pyromancer is for me. Like, Young Pyromancer is my only threat, I only have 2 of them in my deck, and it's probably the best in this matchup, especially once it's in play. Whereas Glistener Elf is just his worst Infect creature. Depending on what he does, I probably won't try to block the Glistener Elf. I'll probably just let it hit me for an Infect, and then Thought Scour at the end of his turn if he doesn't do anything. Yeah, so my opponent probably has some tough decisions here, like whether or not he wants to commit his Pendelhaven, protecting his Glistener Elf. But because I have the mana leaks in my hand, I have mana leak and deprive in my hand, I think I was just always just gonna let it hit me. If he does play like a pump spell on it even, I'd probably just counter it. And then block and absorb the damage. So animating Inkmoth Nexus here with Pendelhaven? That is a very odd play to make. Oh, okay, so he's just hitting me for an Infect. Okay. I'll probably just take the Infect, counter something if he plays it, or instead I'll just Thought Scour myself at the end of turn. So he's very strongly representing Vines of Vastwood, because yeah, he's just very, very strongly representing Vines of Vastwood. Because otherwise it makes more sense for him just to attack with his Glistener Elf and pump it with Pendelhaven. Still not willing to attack just yet. Next turn, if he just hits me for an Infect again, I'll just take it again. And then end of turn, my plan is to Electrolyze at the end of his turn. And I don't want to just like leave tap out at the end of my turn just to kill his Glistener Elf, and then just let him hit me for however much Infect is in his hand. So I'm definitely just going to be patient here. I'll cast Electrolyze at the end of his turn if he doesn't do anything. I have to just take however much Infect he he hits me for this. He hits me for here. Yeah, I think I just have to take two infect here, I think. Like, electrolyzing here would be okay, but I think it's just too risky. When, like, electrolyzing at the end of this turn is always just going to be fine for me. How do I feel about this? I think I'm okay taking this infect here. Saving my counter spells for a better spot. This is like a lot of infects. But I don't think I can counter. I think I'm gonna have to save the counter spells for a turn where I actually win a fight. So, yeah, so now I'm just gonna draw a card, hopefully draw into a black mana source. For terminate, or for Thoughtseize. I'm just gonna cycle this. I still have most of my counter spells up after this, and I really need to draw a black mana source. Yeah, neither of those cards is really cutting it. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll be able... I suspect I'll probably be able to leak or deprive whatever he plays. Like, drawing the second island, have both mana leak and deprive up would be nice, but I just don't think I can afford to do that. Now, I probably can't afford to counter any infect spell that doesn't kill me. Yeah, I assume I'm dead here. Yeah, I mean, if I don't counter this, then I lose. I might as well use mana leak. He's not gonna play like a Simian Spear Guide or anything. Yeah, if I drawn a black, if I drawn a black mana source inside this Garmag Angler, I think I would have been favored. But now I think I've just lost. He's just gonna kill me with the Vines of Vastwood that's been in his hand the whole game. All right, well that was a little unfortunate. I think, yeah. So like I kept the 2-ender. I fetched a. I could have saved my fetch land until after my Serum Visions, just to make it a little more likely that I hit a black source, or just so that if I drew like a Steam Vents or a Mountain, then I could have fetched for Watery Grave. I think I would have had to... I think that would have been even worse, though, because then I would have shuffled the 2 cards I scryed to the bottom back in my deck, and I would have needed to get... Blood Crypt. Yeah, I guess it was probably a mistake. I just thought it was so likely that I was going to draw a black source off of the Serum Visions that it was better just to have more control over my draw steps and have more blue mana in play. But I guess that was just a pretty big mistake. So yeah, so I'm gonna sideboard probably the same way they did before. Like Young Pyromancer is good like when you get into play, but I think overall it's just not worth having. Because it's so risky to tap out. I could be wrong. I think because on the draw, like if I just tap out turn 3 on the play, if I just tap out on turn 2, you can just kill me on turn 3. Like, and I think that's like not a risk I want to take. Tapping out on turn 1 is fine. Tapping out on turn Like like, but I think past that I just want to leave mana up. And like Young Pyromancer is worse than these other threats that could potentially cost 1 mana or actually function at instant speed. I think compared to my Sidebring last time, I'm gonna take you 1 more Gurmag Angler and board out 1 more Spell Snare. Just have an additional threat, and because I think Spell Snare is actually pretty weak. Like I think the first one is probably okay. The first one might actually be pretty good. Like countering Blighted Agent and Spellskite are both like very reasonable things. But I have like other ways to deal with those cards. Obviously, like the entire rest of my deck deals with those cards, and so having multiple copies of a relatively situational card is probably a bit weak. Oh wait, I'm gonna play this game. All right. Well. We haven't been totally together, but that's okay. I think this hand is fine. I've got Thoughtseize and possibly Snapcaster Thoughtseize, and I've got removal spells, and I've got an Electrolyze. I still don't regret boarding out the Young Pyromancers. I think it's just a less flexible threat than my other cards. It's just less flexible than my other threats. And I don't really need the best possible threat to win this game. Like, it's more about disrupting my opponent and keeping him from executing his game plan. So I'm just going to Thoughtseize on turn 1. I assume my opponent kept a hand with a spell in it, and after turn 1, that spell may no longer be in his hand. So I'm just going to Thoughtseize him and get it out. Get it out. I mean, I think there's some shot this just misses here, which would be awkward. Because I think like keeping just a 4-lander is a very reasonable card on 4 cards. As is just keeping a card with no threats or anything really. I guess I just take Vines of Vastwood because it's just I think it's the most powerful card. So it's gonna wind up with Become, Might, and Heath. So. Yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of hands you keep on 4 cards. I don't see any reason to play the Steam Vents untapped. Like if I there's like basically there's just nothing I'm gonna draw next turn that I'm gonna want to cast on like 2 mana. So there's no reason to just like totally broadcast the fact that I have a Lightning Bolt now. Like, yeah, now if he plays like a Blighted Agent, he's definitely going to play it, whereas he may not have played it before. Or a Spellskite. In either case, I wouldn't have benefited by holding up my spell. So now I know he just has pump spells in his hand, but I'm just going to Snapcaster Probe to try to hit another land. I'm at some risk just dying to a Spellskite, which would be awkward. I'm also at risk of just dying to that thing. Alright, well that's a great draw. So yeah, so this is gonna let me kill both of his creatures, which I think is I just want to do, given that my hand is quite good and his hand is very dangerous. So yeah, so I'm just gonna Murderous Cut his Spellskite and then bolt his Blighted Agent. Like the alternative is I could like Electrolyze just to kill his Blighted Agent, but he's like if I just do that, he's just gonna kill. I'm gonna have to chump his Spellskite, which I don't have that much interest in doing. Yeah, I mean, I think like I had basically just had to take all the damage I took this game. I was like pretty locked into taking. And my opponent's just like not playing around anything, which makes sense given that he was like on a mull to 4. He has to take risks to win. I'm just gonna Electrolyze here, kill this thing, be safe. Now my hand's like millions of removal spells against his hand of all pump spells, which is generally pretty good. Gonna play this Gurmag Angler. Gonna fetch my other Steam Vents at the end of the turn. Gonna leave Lightning Bolt in my graveyard. Yeah, so given my opponent's just hand is just 2 pump spells that don't protect his creatures, he's like basically 0% to win this game. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if there's a ton to say about this game. I put up mulled to 4 and I had like a reasonable draw, if not a great one. Just kind of spinning my wheels. Doing all this now because if I draw a land that comes into play tapped, I want to play it. There's no reason to take more damage because, yeah, I mean, there's nothing really my opponent can draw. I have Snapcaster Terminate next turn for any creature he might draw, and currently he just has pump spells. Yep, and then that should be that. Hado just seems to like have like a Magic Online just has like a mild seizure whenever like somebody concedes. Like, seems like a strange thing to cause like this degree of disruption. It's not even like I can understand this pause as it's like loading up my sideboard and like the sideboarding screen. Like, that's understandable. That's like data that you need to like load up, but like just like to like bring up just the somebody has conceded prompt, that seems a bit much. On the draw, I probably want the other Spell Snare. Given that he's shown he has Spell Skites with which like the first player like might have not even necessarily had just because Spell Skite's so expensive on Magic Online. So I think I might want the other Spell Snare just to be a bit like lighter on my feet. And I guess I'll just cut the Gurmag Angler like I did before. Yeah, I think I like my side. I think I like this like play draw sideboarding. Just having the extra threat on the play and then having the extra interactive spell on the draw. Like even with the interactive spell is like a little bit subpar. So this hand's pretty good. I've got 3 lands, which is pretty much exactly the number you want. And I've got a threat, and I've got 2 removal spells. So this hand's basically perfect. So my opponent gets to see my perfect hand and try to figure out how he's going to beat it. Which is, I mean, he can obviously very easily beat this hand. even as good, even given how good, even though it is as good as it is. Like, his deck's very powerful, and I could easily just draw like bricks for a million turns. Like, I could draw like a Tasigur here, which just wouldn't do anything. If my opponent plays a Glistener Elf, I'm just gonna bolt it. My opponent, I think I'd rather kill my opponent's creatures than play threats, basically. Yeah, it being a Noble Hierarch hasn't really changed my opinion on that. It just gives him lots of options next turn. Like, he might not even have another second land, given that he mulliganed to 6. I don't think this Delver adds all that much to the board. So, just the combination of all of those things makes me just want to just bolt there. And so, like, again, like, I'm just going to kill my opponent's threats as he plays them, if he plays them, and he in fact does not have a second land, which is obviously quite good for me. And so now I can just play Tasigur here. I could just Thought Scour. I don't even need to fetch. I could just Thought Scour, play Tasigur. I should fetch because it's better to. I should fetch because I want to leave a lightning bolt in my graveyard, but it's not mandatory. Yeah, so I'm just gonna fetch. Or no, I guess I have to exile everything. That's okay. Snapcaster Terminate's still fine. I think just guaranteeing that I have the 4 power threat in play this turn, I think is actually quite valuable. Like, not getting the Snapcaster Bolt's a little it's not like ideal, but I'm gonna want to Snapcaster. I'm probably gonna end up wanting to Snapcaster Terminate anyway, so it's like not like a huge loss. Yeah, so I mean, I like my spot this game. My opponent's stuck on 1 land, and I have a Tasker in play and Terminate in hand, and now Dispel, which reduces my opponent's like interactive, reduces my opponent's ability to like play a creature and then also protect it, and his cards suddenly get all suddenly get terrible when he's on the defensive. And so my opponent's drawn a 2nd land, so now he maybe like has a little bit of a shot. Yeah, that seems likely that my opponent would have wanted to play Glistener Elf there. So I can either terminate it. I like terminating this now and then just Snapcaster terminating it on my turn. It lets me get in. I'm probably gonna want to make this exchange anyway, and it makes it I basically want to just guarantee that I get to play the Snapcaster Mage on my next turn and just put another threat into play. Yeah, and then I still have the Dispel up to fight my opponent's like pump spells and stuff, which is his primary way of killing me at this point. And he's gonna have to start blocking next turn, which is obviously terrible for him. And so now I think that I've played all the cards my opponent's known about. Not that that's super relevant. He's just so far behind at this point. Like, I think basically at the point where the Infect deck has to start blocking, like, it's just not winning anymore. My opponent sent me a message, presumably just a good game, which I'll return if Magic Online will let me. And then spoils of victory. Alright. Give my opponent the GG's. Alright, so that was a pretty good showing for the deck. Not such a great showing for the pilot, but hopefully it was still educational. You can learn from the things. You can learn what you shouldn't do from my terrible mistakes. Alright, so until next time.